Hi there everyone. Hope that you're all having a great day today. So today we are going to discuss a new assignment on the elements of art. So we have all learned what the elements of art are. The elements of art is essential to learn about whenever you're taking an art class because it is quite literally defined as the building blocks to an artwork. So there is no single artwork in the world that doesn't contain at least one element of art. Okay. So how many elements of art are there? There are 7 elements of art, okay? Line, shape, form, value, color, space, and texture are the 7 elements of art. You have already defined these and we have learned about these, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth and do an art project on that today, since it's something that we've already discussed. So like I said, we're going to take the elements of art and we're going to go on a scavenger hunt to find objects that represent those elements. So if you don't know what a scavenger hunt is a game typically played outside or in your home, where participants are asked to go out and find a number of random objects. In this case, for your assignment, you will go out and find an object that represents each element of art. So for example, you will go out and find an object that represents lines. You will go out and find an object that represents form. You will find an object that represents shape. Okay, so I briefly want to go over the definitions of the elements of art with you all. I know that we do already have these defined, and if you can't find your definitions, I will attach a list of the vocab words with their definitions onto Schoology so that you do have access to those. The first element of art is line, and a line is a path of a moving point. So a path of a moving point. And there are all different types of lines. So let's take like 8 seconds and see how many lines you can think of. So name as many different types of line that you can think of. Okay, so I'm thinking of vertical lines, horizontal lines, diagonal lines, curved lines, dotted lines, I'm thinking of zigzag lines, and then the loop-de-loop lines. There are so many different types of line out there. These are just some that I thought of off the top of my head. And so anything that you can see in your house that represents line. So as I'm looking around, I do have an example for line for you all. I have this blouse, and look at what it has on it. Zigzag lines. So if I wanted to use this blouse for my scavenger hunt assignment for Miss Lasada, I would take a photo of the blouse, and then I would turn the photo in on Schoology and say, this shirt represents zigzag line, or this shirt represents the element of line. It's a zigzag line, okay? So that would be a great example. Okay, so the next element of art that I want to talk about is shape. So shape is an area enclosed by lines, okay? It's two-dimensional, and we can probably name quite a few different shapes. So off the top of your head, just name some shapes right off the top of your head. We got squares, triangles, circles. That wasn't the best triangle. Square, rectangle, you got your parallelogram, all different types of shapes, okay? Let me see if I can, okay, we've got a kite shape, kind of get some unique shapes going for y'all. Diamond shape, the crescent moon shape, a heart, a star. That is not a great star at all. And maybe an arrow shape. So all different types of shapes, okay? So then what you would do is look around your home and say, what in here represents the element of art shape? Well, I'm looking around and I have a ton of canvases that I've painted, so I'm thinking this canvas represents shape. So what kind of shape does this represent? A rectangular shape, okay? So once again, what I would do is I would take this canvas, I would take a photo of it, submit it to Schoology, and write a brief description. I'd say, Miss Lasada, this canvas represents the element of art shape. It's in the shape of a rectangle, okay? So moving on, our next element of art is form, and forms are three-dimensional. They're not like shapes. Shapes are two-dimensional, okay? So forms are three-dimensional, and they're also created by using line. So forms are different because they actually occupy space or give the illusion that they're occupying space, okay? So can you all name different types of forms? And this may be hard holding this and with one hand, but one type of form that we have is the cube. Okay, another type of form that we have is a sphere. And this would have to be shaded in to create the illusion that it's three-dimensional, because that's what a form is. And I probably won't go through and crosshatch all of this, but okay. We've got cylinders. And we've got cones. Okay, all different types of forms. So I wanted to give you all a few examples of things that I had around my house to help give you an idea of things that you could use for this assignment. So as I was looking around my house, I'm like, what represents form? I found this apple, and I'm thinking this could represent a sphere. It's three-dimensional, it occupies space, and this could represent sphere, okay? And then another form that I found was this canned food, can of corn, and I thought this represents form. It's three-dimensional and occupies space. Which form would this represent? This would represent a cylinder. Okay, so now I've given you three examples for three different elements of art: line, shape, and form. So moving on, our next element of art would be color. So color is the most expressive element of art, and it is seen by the way light reflects on a surface. So color is made from reflected light. Okay, so anything in your house that you can find that shows color. So for example, if I wanted to take a picture of this painting or any of these paintings and say this painting represents the element of art. Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm moving my desk a little bit. This painting represents the element of art, color. Okay. Next is value. So value is the lightness or darkness of a surface. It's often referred to when shading, but value is an important study of color. So value, like I said, is the lightness and darkness of a color. And so if you can see my shadow here on this painting, that's what value is. It's the lightness and darkness of a color. So you would need to figure out something in your home that represents value. It could be as simple as turning the lights off in your room, turning on a lamp or something, and taking a photo of the wall where the lamp is hitting, the brightness is hitting this one area and it's gradually getting darker on the wall. That could represent value. The next element of art is texture, and texture is the way that an actual surface feels, or the simulated appearance of it. So there's two different types of texture. there's visual texture, which is the way something looks like it would feel. So, like if this seems like it would be bumpy, although it's not, because it's just a painting, versus tactile texture, which is the actual way something feels. Okay, so this actually, it's made of sequins and glitter, and this is one of those cool pillows that change colors, but it's made of sequins, so it's scratchy. I can feel that it's scratchy. But if I were to draw this pillow onto a sheet of paper, me drawing those sequins on there would be visual texture. It doesn't actually have that texture because it's a drawing, but it looks like it has that texture. So that's visual texture. Tactile texture is the actual way that it feels, okay? So if I wanted to look around my house and find something that had texture, I would use this pillow and say, Miss Lasada, this pillow represents the element of art texture because it has a rough texture on it. It's made of sequins, okay? All right. And then the last element of art is space. And this may be the most difficult one for you all, and it may not be. Everybody's different, but the definition of space, space is the illusion of objects having depth on a two-dimensional surface. Okay, so, and I did want to draw an example. Let me find my marker here. So space, overlap shapes whenever you're doing your space part, and make some look closer and some look farther in the distance and smaller. So farther back and smaller makes them look like they're in the distance, and then something larger in front of it makes it look like it's closer up. And then you have a two-dimensional surface because that's what space is, okay? You could also overlap, so I could do one to make it look like it's behind this. Okay. So there's a few ways that you can create the illusion of space by drawing them. You can overlap, so like I did here. Okay. Overlap things. You can shade things in, and I'm using a giant Crayola marker, so it's really not the best to shade things. I would use a pencil, but it really doesn't show up well on camera. So you could shade things to show space. You can use different placement for things. Okay, you can use perspective, so linear perspective, something in the foreground, something in the middle ground, something in the background. Okay, you can use different sizes, and you can use different value and focus, so value meaning lightness and darkness of a color, but focus meaning if this wasn't a marker and I could use a pencil, I could draw really lightly. I can kind of do it with a marker. And so this has most of the focus, and then this has a little bit of focus because it's drawn a lot lighter, okay? So those are ways that you can create the illusion of space by drawing. Another idea that I had that you could use to represent space would be to go out and take a photo of your home. Just like run out into the yard and go out and take a picture of your home, and that way you can see the landscape in your entire home, and then that would represent the illusion of the object having depth on a two-dimensional surface. That's just one idea that I had. I don't want to give you all a ton of ideas for each element of art because I want you to think creatively and I want you to come up with your own, okay? So I did give you one example for each element of art. I feel like that's plenty, and like I said, do your best, think creatively. This is kind of a fun assignment. It's not a brain buster or anything like that. It just is something that I could use and teach you from home so that I know that you all have a good understanding of the elements of art, okay? The elements of art are super important. Like I said, they are the building blocks to creating any type of artwork, whether you're in Art 2, Art 3, ceramics class, or textiles class. No matter what type of art you're working on, you're using the elements of art in that artwork. So that's why it's so important to learn about, okay? If we do go back to school, me and Mrs. Lucas had planned to give you all a final exam, and the elements of art and their definitions are on your final exam. We have no idea what's going to happen with that right now, so you may not have a final exam. Even if we go back to school, you may not have a final exam. But like I said, the elements of art are something that's so important to learn about, and we have been over them in class. I just wanted to do this fun project, the scavenger hunt, with you all to reiterate what you've already learned, and so that you could show me that you have a good understanding of what the elements of art are, okay? So look at your 7 elements of art, get on Schoology, look at the 7 elements of art, okay? Look at the definition for each one of those and find an object for each element that represents that element of art, okay? So you'll have 7 objects, 1 for each element of art. This is going to be a week-long project. I'll give you all 1 week to complete it from the date that it's posted on Schoology. So this means that you will have to complete 1 element of art a day. One of those days, since there's 7 of them, one day you'll have to do 2 elements of art, okay, so that you get this done in 5 days. If you want to do 7 days, 1 element of art per day, that will work out too, but I figure if you work Monday through Friday, 1 element of art per day, and then one of those days you can do 2 elements of art, and just knock it out. I wanted to give you all plenty of time to complete this project, but I will end it here. I hope that you all have fun with this, looking around your house and learning about the elements of art more in depth. I hope that you all stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all in the next video.